Hello students, how are you? Today's topic is FIR given under section 154 of CRPC. It's also known as First Information Report, very important topic for your judicial exams. So you may get the question that what is FIR, what is the evidentiary value of FIR. So you must know about FIR. It's the basic thing. FIR actually sets the criminal law in motion. So FIR is only for cognizable offences. FIR is not registered for non-cognizable offences. Cognizable offences are serious offences. Mostly punishment of 3 years or more is given in the cognizable offences, and non-cognizable offences are not very serious in nature. So no FIR for that. Examples of cognizable offences are murder, rape, culpable homicide not amounting to murder, extortion, dacoity. These all are cognizable offences. Theft. So in cognizable offences like these, the police can arrest without the warrant of the magistrate or the court, and the police can even investigate this offence without the order of the court. The police has full authority to investigate the cognizable offence. So before investigating the offence, the first thing the police does is registering an FIR. So FIR is the first step to make the police in motion. The police comes in motion only first registering the FIR. So we can set the law in motion, we can set the criminal law in motion only first by registering an FIR. By registering an FIR, then only criminal law can come into motion. So first FIR, then investigation, then police investigates the case. You see, as far as cognizable offences are concerned, the police need not get an order from the magistrate to investigate the case. The police can straight away, after registering an FIR, can straight away go and investigate the case. And after investigating the case, after collecting all the evidence, the police may present the challan or police report under section 173 of the CRPC. The police has full authority as far as cognizable offences are concerned. Again, first of all, it has to register an first information report, that is FIR under section 154 of CRPC. So what is the object of FIR? The object of FIR is to get the criminal law in motion, because investigation will only start. First of all, we have to register a FIR, then only investigation starts. Now, as far as a case is concerned, that is the King Emperor versus Nazir Ahmed, 1945. In this case, King Emperor versus Nazir Ahmed, it was held that by the Privy Council case that the functions of the judiciary and the police are complementary, not overlapping. The court's function begins when a charge is preferred before it and not until then. It says that the court's role comes into picture once the police report has been filed, that is challan has been filed under section 173. After reading the challan, the court may or may not frame charges. It is there when the court's role comes into play. Before that, the court has no role. So in investigation, the judiciary or the court has no role to play. It is the sole prerogative of the police or the executive to investigate the case as it likes. You see, there is one case, Shambhu. You can see this, Shambhu Das versus State of Assam, AIR 2010. So in this case, it was held that FIR under section 154 is not a substantive piece of evidence, and its only use is to contradict or corroborate the maker of the FIR during trial. So what it says that FIR is not a substantive evidence. It is not a full proof evidence of the offence, and just on the basis of FIR, the person cannot be put behind the bars. For the case to be strong, it has to be proved in the court that really that person, accused person, has committed that offence. So for that, examination chief is there. You see, examination in chief is there. Then cross examination is also there in the trial. Whatever he says in examination in chief, that is the real evidence. Whatever is he says in cross examination, when he is cross examined by the opposite advocate, whatever he says, that's the real evidence. Based on that evidence plus other evidence, he can be put behind the bars, or he can be convicted or acquitted. So that's the real evidence which is divulged during the process of the trial. FIR is only to corroborate. FIR is basically a previous statement which corroborates the maker of FIR during examination in chief. Whatever he says in examination in chief, whether he says that right or wrong, it can be corroborated by his previous statement. What previous statement? That is FIR. So FIR is only used for corroboration of the statement made by the accused in the court, or FIR can be used for contradiction of his statement. Whatever he makes the statement in cross examination, so FIR can be used by the opposite advocate that yes, he is saying wrong because in FIR he has said this thing. So FIR is only used for this thing. It's not a substantive piece of evidence. Then there is Krishna Kumar versus State of UP, AIR 2000, Supreme Court. In this case, it was held that in order for a message or communication to be qualified to be an FIR, there must be something in the nature of complaint or accusation, or at least some information of the crime given with the object of setting the police or criminal law in motion. So there must be some accusation. A simple cryptic message does not amount to a FIR. It must be, the message should be having weight. There must be some accusation, there must be complaint, and the person who is registering an FIR, he wants the police to go and investigate the case. It should not be a cryptic message. It should not be a vague message. So, but FIR need not to contain the minutest details. Every details is not possible in FIR because the maker of the FIR may not, after all he is a human. He may forget many things, but actually he should be in detail, but minutest details are not required in FIR. For example, how offense has been taken place, or nor he is required to contain the names of the offenders, because he may not be knowing the names of the offenders. He may not be knowing the witnesses of the offense. He is one of the witness. So we cannot expect that he will be saying everything in detail. But some important things, some important points he has to tell. The message should not be too much vague. He should tell the police that this offense has been happened against this victim, and these are the offenders. He may not be knowing the names of that, but he should be giving all the map and area where the offense has been taken place. So then only the police will register that FIR and investigate the case. But he must give some information, valid information about the crime committed, as also the information about the manner in which the crime has been committed. He may not be giving in detail the manner of the crime, but he must be giving at least some clue that what crime has been committed and in what way. So a cryptic message recording an occurrence cannot be termed as an FIR. Then there is Ravi Shankar Manji versus State of Jharkhand, AIR 2009. Ravi Shankar Manji versus State of Jharkhand, AIR 2009. In this case, it was held that a mere information received on phone. If somebody phones, somebody make a call on his mobile to the SHO or to the police station, and without he's not giving any details of the offense, as he's not giving any identity of the accused to the police. He's just saying that this offense has been taken place in this area, and he's not giving any injuries caused to the victim. He's telling nothing in this message. So